back to the conservatory. Garden time is unstructured time. One idea that I often tell my kids is that with many things, the process is more important than the product. Working through the math problems is more valuable than the grade. A finished sketch could go immediately into the recycling, but the time spent is more important. There is practice, but also freedom and release. I love making art, but I can get frustrated with my work. I can't get the camera to focus on the right spot, or the camera white balance doesn't end up where I want it. Anytime I paint or draw a more representational image, I lament my lack of skill and inability to produce my vision. This is a great time to focus on the process. For me, photography is great here because I can spend hours taking pictures at the gardens and I don't even have to look at the results. The product is separate enough from the act of production that I can enjoy the latter without even seeing the former. I would like to extend this to things like painting and sketching, but it is harder when you have to stare at the work to create it. Perhaps this is also why I love abstracts. The further I step away from realism, the less I compare my work to what I think it should be. I feel like these perspectives really bring together the process focus and unstructured time. Time at the gardens gets us out of our own space and gets us moving, but there is no agenda, nothing that needs to be done or practiced. There is freedom to let the mind wander, to stroll or stop and sit. It isn't crowded, but there are other visitors, and sometimes that results in a brief friendship and lovely conversation. If I am not in a conversational mood, I can pull out my camera and put a barrier between myself and my environment and allow my thoughts to wander. Photography generally keeps away the bad thought spirals while allowing free thought. Unstructured time is for brain freedom. It's deserved rest and relaxation. It is also for being non-productive. Maybe art results, but the focus is on the process. In my cultural experience, a person's value is strongly tied to productivity. Even children are judged by grades and schoolwork. It is hard to gauge concepts like success without it. This might be how it is, but not how it has to be. My experience also reflects my generally non-social existence. I am very introverted. Even when I enjoy spending time with people, it saps me of all my energy. I am fascinated how others, like my own mom, get rejuvenated by spending time with friends. It's not that I'm skeptical about the experiences of others. Rather, the situation and its results are so far outside of my experience that it is hard to understand. But this is important because what might be considered as non-productive social time is treated differently from non-productive individual time. It is as though the act of socializing is the product. In some ways, this makes sense. As a species, we are social, therefore our social bonds are very important. Reinforcing those bonds creates an intangible product, our social network, which can be called upon in times of need. So then, how does all of this translate to introverts? I don't have a great answer. We still need some social time, but having social time almost requires having more individual time to recover. I guess culturally and personally, we need to give more weight to the processes in life as opposed to focusing on the product. Of course, individual variation applies here, and your mileage may vary. And that might be what makes it so hard. What is the right amount for me, for my wife, for our kids? Perhaps the main point is that if we value unproductive time, it will be easier to find an appropriate balance. What happens when simply spending time isn't considered a waste? I know I am not the only one struggling with self-care. Try to be as kind to yourself as you are to others. Give yourself time and permission. Allow yourself unstructured time and permission to prioritize it. Take the time to focus on processes without worrying about the product. Do this for yourself, and I will try my best to do it for me too. I recommend a trip to the gardens.